Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the second of our Marketing Insights webinar series by KnowledgePoint. My name is Tuuli Eaton, and I look after the partner enablement here at the Europe, Middle East, Africa territory. And it's really great to see you all here, and it's so important for us in KnowledgePoint that our training partners are equipped with the tools and the resources to help you succeed. And one of the recurring feedback I've received in my role in engaging with you and having these conversations is the feedback of focusing on marketing and enablement, and especially given the current, let's say, dynamic landscape and how fast and innovative and creative this field is. So I think we can really help each other to stay on top of things and improve. So we launched the Marketing Insights series just 2 weeks ago with our first session looking at the identifying target markets. And today we have prepared the presentation on planning and selecting the right channels and tactics. And Will, would you mind moving into the next slide? So having had a sneak peek on the slides, I'm much excited about this one. And I really look forward to our conversation and our feedback, not only what is being covered here today, but how you will find the schedule we have planned for the future as shown here. Like, for instance, the next one we have lined up is the social marketing best practices. Now, before I hand over to our expert here, just a couple of quick logistical housekeeping items. So first of all, yeah, you're all muted at the moment, but you have the chat function at your disposal. And this session, as I said, the first presentation part of the session will be recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. And I really look forward to our Q&A and idea exchange in the end of this presentation in reflection to what is being covered. So feel free we can jump back on the presentation on any slide or anything you like us to repeat or refocus on. The floor is definitely yours. And if you're there, it would be lovely to, of course, see your faces as well if you did put the video on. And yeah, let's have some fun and let's learn something new. So I hope you find today's session very useful to your needs. And it's my great pleasure to hand over to our marketing expert, Will Roberts here, and start with today's session on which channels to use to reach your target markets. So over to you, Will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tuuli. So some of the things we're going to cover in this one is the media, owned, earned, and paid for, and your goals and tactics. So as Tuuli said, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So submit any questions that you think of throughout or hold them back until the end. So paid, owned, and earned. Paid for media is anything that will have a cost to it. So this will be advertising, radio, direct mail, paid for search, paid for promotions, anything that has a physical cost attributed to it. We then also have earned, which are things that you will create, such as your word of mouth, your social media, your public relations, and forums. These are things that will grow organically over time with your input. And then owned, which are things that you have created, such as your website, your blogs, brochures, and apps. So when setting out, especially in a marketing campaign, it's important to set your goals and objectives. Here are just 17 examples. So you could decide to increase your prospect pipeline, increase traffic, break into a new market, or improve the product quality. It's important to have an objective at the beginning, because then when your marketing campaigns compete, you can then decide, have you reached this goal? So tactics to choose. When selecting your tactical mix, you need to think back to our first session we did about choosing your target market and your target persona. You need to think, what do you want to do to reach them, and who are your target market? What media do they consume, and what information motivates them? And then finally think, what channels will you select, and how much money do you want to spend when marketing? So the promotional essentials. These are 4 aspects that will come together to create your promotion. And if you don't have one of them, it won't work. They work as a matrix together. So it's your message, your creative execution, your target audience, and your media. So we're now going to go through some options for some channels that you can use. Social media, we will touch on very lightly today, as our next session will go much more into depth, but business to business, use LinkedIn, and business to consumer, use other options such as Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But as we said, we'll be covering this much more on our next session. So EDMs, or email direct marketing, can be a really good way to reach potential customers, as well as giving them more information and bringing them onto your site or your social media. And what you want to do here is design your ideal acquisition journey. So think as a user from start to finish, how they will go through your process to purchase from you. So you need to design a series and have a goal. For example, this could be 2 email marketings with the goal of sending them to your website to read more information about your products. You need to give them information, but not too much. You want to lure them in and convert them into clicks. And this will be done by having a call to action, which is something that motivates them to click through and to go onto your website or to book a call with you. So speaking of your website, this is one of the core fundamentals of marketing today and your business. Having a clear message on your website will help your potential customers to purchase from you. You need to think of individual pages to appeal to your different target markets and think of their journey as they move through. This user journey is very important, as if you have different target markets and different target personas, they will want to reach and access different information. If they cannot do that easily, they will then look elsewhere. And it's important to remember that everything nowadays will point to your website. Your emails, your social media, your forums, any community outreach, people will search your website, and it's either the first or the last place they go to. So if you don't have this fundamental in place, it's definitely the first place to work on. So here's an example of a very good website. This is Unity Learn. As you can see, there is a clear banner image explaining what it does with login areas. And then as you move through the site, as you can see at the bottom here, it says, what is your skill level? These are identifying factors. So then people can easily determine, I have a high skill level and I go to this page, or I have a low skill level. Now, this may not exactly apply to yours, but it's an example of a very clear user journey. Search engine optimization, or SEO, which essentially is getting to the top of Google. Now, this can be done in a number of ways. You can do pay-per-click, which we'll address in a second, or you can use plugins. So if your website's built on WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, a lot of them have plugins and extras which can help you boost your SEO score. Our recommendation is Yoast Premium, which will give you recommendations and pointers on your page and uses a traffic light system, which is very easy to score highly on SEO. Blog posting is also very important and should be done regularly. When you do a blog post, you'll think of a key phrase. There's millions of articles out there on how to write a good blog post. And there's loads of different factors on there, which we can't quite go into the details, but blog posting is very good to do regularly. Backlinking is possibly something you haven't heard of as much, which is links from other websites directing to yours. It's a very cost-effective way to trend highly for words and search terms. However, if this is done wrong, it can negatively affect your search results on Google. So we recommend that you hire someone to do this. And people can be found on People Per Hour, Fiverr, any sort of outsourcing sites. But yeah, those are how to get to the top. So pay-per-click, or PPC. Google AdWords is a very good way to get to the top, as you will appear at the top of the search with an ad next to your name. However, before engaging in AdWords, we recommend that you use Google Garage to gain a basic insight and understanding of how Google Ads works. And this is because Google AdWords can be extremely competitive and become expensive if you don't manage your budget. It's also important when doing pay-per-click to target searches that will generate leads, not just traffic. It can be very easy to focus on the search terms which will have high searches, such as VR on its own will trend very highly, but they may not necessarily be looking for your services. So you need to have longer, specific searches if you want to spend money on it. Forums and community can be a great way of building an audience which is captive and engaged. this can be done through outreach and events, and also through communities and forums. So some areas you could explore is architecture, gaming, and VR forums and communities. So speaking of this, recently our own Edward Fremantle hosted the Unity Global Meetup in London. This was a virtual event due to our current state, but had an agenda of the training with free resources and paid for resources. And then it went on to careers that you could engage with within the Unity community, and also a Q&A and then an open mic. This was an extremely good event. We had an audience of over 100 people with a waiting list, and it had a captive audience. It was great to get feedback and see everyone engaging in the community. Referral and word of mouth. This is one of the earned sections that we were talking about, which they can be harder to quantify and measure, but they can be absolutely invaluable to your business. Doing business well will get you more business. So these can be done face-to-face, which may not be appropriate in the current climate, but some digital options for this would be Google My Business, Trustpilot, referral schemes, groups and forums, and also KnowledgePoint.com, where we are relaunching our Unity area, and we will be having company profiles to promote you. Events, as previously mentioned, are a great way, but if you can have physical face-to-face events, these can be very good to engage your potential customers. So some suggestions for these would be maybe student careers, gaming, and architecture expos. But what's important to remember here is you need to figure out which ones would be the right ones for your target market. Public relations and press releases. Press releases can be a great way to generate online and offline coverage about your products and services. So this is not guaranteed, but it can give you exposure in different places that you may not have gained it from your organic growth or from your paid for. Our recommendation is to work with blogs and trade associations that have an interest in your market. It's important to have a hook, something that's interesting and insightful to your audience, something that motivates them to read the article. And of course, back this up with stats and information. Advertising is a good form of paid for media. This can of course be online or offline. You can use traditional forms such as radio, print, or TV advertising. Offline might be right for some of you, but it may not be. But again, the point to consider is, what is your target market? How do you engage them? What are their interests? And this was done previously in our first one. So it's all building upon that to find the right advertising route for you. Of course, locations for these could be magazines, again, architecture, training and development, trade associations, online and offline media, and TV and radio. So our recommendation as well is to follow KnowledgePoint on LinkedIn. We'll also be going over this on our social media one in our next session. We publish a lot of Unity news, which will be good free content for you to also publish and for you to also share. So we're now going to open up for a Q&A, and any questions or anything anyone would like to revisit over the presentation.
I will just pick one.
So as previously mentioned, I know this may be a bit of an information dump with a lot of theory and a lot of information to go through. This will also be available on our YouTube, which will be going up this week. So you'll also get a link for that to be able to revisit it. Yeah, just if any
First
questions.
hand up.
Hi guys, thank you very much for going through all that. It's really helpful. I'm Perry. I just wondered if you guys had any insight into the different social medias I mean, I know we're talking a lot about that. I know that's going to be a topic for the next thing, but just more generally, whether Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, whether in your kind of general experience, you found any bias towards any of those for your education services?
Very good one. Particularly ours, the KnowledgePoint main focus at the moment is on LinkedIn, because it is a professional platform, and especially when promoting, you can target specific sectors and job roles. If you were looking for something more like Facebook or Instagram, possibly that's more for end users, as you can do interest, age, and demographics. But I would definitely say predominantly LinkedIn, because you can actually get that job role. So you know that people will be interested in the industry and engaged in working in it, as opposed to something, say, like Twitter or Facebook or even Instagram, where it's more of their interests and relations, which will probably find more users.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's useful to know what you guys are focusing on. So yeah, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you. More questions? We are happy to go back to any of the slides covered and take a step back and go a level deeper. Like. So there's no silly questions. We're all here to learn. Okay.
Examples of successful campaigns. So again, we can go back to LinkedIn. We've got some exciting new ones coming up soon, we've got some exciting new ones which will be released sort of end of February, talking about the future skills and the future of working, which again will be great content for you guys to share and get on board with, as I think it will be relevant to you. We had some very good ones relating to recruitment, especially in different countries. And this was using LinkedIn promotions. So using the promotional mix, we had very clear media with graphics. We had a very clear audience that we wanted to target. We had a very good output as well. So we had translated in different languages and did geographical promotions along with the organization size, company type, and company interests. They weren't huge budgets, but they did yield quite good reward, because they were definitely just different to what was mainly coming up on people's newsfeed. So yeah, those were campaigns that have done very well for us recently. Also, blog posts and thought leadership. The consistency of those generally do very well. Blog posts trend very well for search terms, and long copy can also do better on LinkedIn, as a lot of people are either posting short copy or images. So you're sort of leading some of the field in that can be very good. That's right.
And I guess we can add, while we're on that topic, that some of the things that we will develop out from KnowledgePoint side will be, as partners, you can reuse some of that material, and we can also help reposition some of it in case you see something, for example, this new campaign about future skills and what type of skill set is required in the job market. Some of that data comes from Unity that we're using, and then I'm sure that you guys could leverage some of the same, but of course adapt it to your context, and that's where we can help a bit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will be a very interesting campaign for everyone as well. As that will have multimedia, looking at podcasts, looking at audio and visual, video graphics, infographics. Hopefully at the end of February is when this is planning to go live. So you'll have to watch out for social media and our blog posts to them. We will be alluding to it shortly, and giving you some teasers so people will be aware of the start time of the campaign on our socials.
Excellent. Oh, Perry, the floor is yours. Please.
Do you mind if I ask one more question?
Please.
Yeah. I'd love to know what kind of things are useful What kind of things do you guys love to kind of repost or reshare from partners? So has there been any partners that have done things that you're like, oh, we're going to use that and we're going to share it? Like, I guess, because I really love the idea that we can use some of the content that you guys have got and we can share that on our own channels. That's really, really helpful to know. And I guess vice versa, is there anything that previously you've been like, oh, these partners were amazing at creating this, and then we wanted to share that on our own channels or with other partners or whatever?
Yeah, definitely. So we covered in much more depth in the next one, but sort of as an overview, it's anything that's not selling, but also has got interest and is insightful. So if you have positive news or a positive case study, or anything sort of around that, interesting research you may have seen, we possibly haven't seen, it's mainly, it's things around that are interesting and insightful, but don't have a sales message to them, is definitely the most important one, and something that probably shows your brand personality and the work that you're doing. So yeah, sort of it's around those, anything that's positive, happy, and insightful.
Awesome, thank you very much.
That's all right. Do you have any more questions or anything anybody would like to revisit, or to go slightly deeper into on some theory on some of the slides, as we did go for quite a quick dump there, or yeah, anything like that? Campaigns and things when they go wrong. I think that's definitely a more interesting one. I think it's, again, back to the sales message of you need to be highlighting the benefits and the interest when going after your target market, as opposed to constantly selling. So I've seen this with working on other social medias and other marketing campaigns. If you're always hounding with purchase this or buy this, it generally won't go as well. It sounds quite generic, but it's very true and is done much more often. Regurgitation of content as well also doesn't go very well. So if it's something that's on your website and you're just resharing it, of course doesn't apply for blog posts, but for content and interest, that does, because you want to create a journey and to flow for your potential customers. So you want to have the idea of, you first see me on social media and then you're taken through on the journey to my website, where you'll then convert to possibly reaching out or becoming a user or becoming a partner. So anything like that, if there's duplicates or information's repeated or things are too similar, they often won't do as well. And things around that, if you do long post rather than in sort of a long post format, if you just do it as a big block of text, again, not very interesting. Other campaigns, if you do your promotions and spend them in the wrong areas, it can be very easy, particularly going back to PPC, pay-per-clicks. That's one you see time and time again, where people go after the large traffic. So PPC for something like, say, VR, per se, be around £12 per click. And if you're getting completely the wrong traffic, then that's definitely going to be a campaign that wouldn't do as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Sadly, we haven't had any personally KnowledgePoint that have done badly. But it's mainly around those. It would just be if you ever do sort of the opposite of the recommendation, or as back to the promotional media mix, you say have 3 aspects, but you don't have the 4th. So you don't have the audience, you don't have the media, you don't have the creativity. Those are when campaigns tend to go wrong.
Thank you, Will.
That's all right.
We covered a lot of ground here. It's good to have these questions and this interest. So we are in a right track, and see if there's any other questions. There's no wrong questions. So Okay, well, maybe this is time to say thank you for everyone for joining us today. And yeah, let's keep this interaction going. I really look forward to our next session. And meanwhile, if there's anything which kind of sparks as an outcome of today's meetings, just drop me a note, and I'm sure we can also cover questions and interaction offline. It's more than happy to, because this is exactly the kind of thing we want to build and keep going with the training partners now. Then that we'll put our heads together, and we'll, in the end of the day, we'll create the best student experience and get the training flow going. So we're all here to learn together, and I'm really excited about this initiative myself. So I really thank Will for humoring me and putting this presentation together for us. So until the next one, I guess, and we'll share the recording afterwards. So thank you very much for your time all, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll see you soon.